The Virginia race is actually very interesting too. And that one's heating up. Unfortunately, not as much heat at the top level for the actual governor's house, the state house, but that attorney general race was shifted. It was turned pretty massively by those vile texts that came out from Jay Jones, who is the Democratic candidate for attorney general in Virginia, who would love to see Republicans and their children killed. And though he's really sorry for saying it repeatedly in writing and via phone call many times, but he's sorry. So the race is tightened considerably to the point where I think he's probably going to lose that race. Now, I realize Spanberger could help get him over the top because she's still polling over Winsome Sears, but I want to know what you guys think. The latest numbers are as follows in the AG race in Virginia. Back in July, Jones was up 9. Last month, he was up 6. Then the scandal broke of the texts, and now his GOP opponent, Mieres, leads up 3. So, I mean, that's a 12-point swing since July, a 9-point swing from September, but it's still within the margin of error. So what do you guys think is going to happen with that Virginia AG race? And then we'll talk about the top of the ticket.
Well, I'll jump in as the voter in the Commonwealth of Virginia here. Look, Jason Mieres is doing a great job. He's raising enough money. But importantly, you pointed out, right, that the tide is with him. And in the final 12 days of a campaign, you want to be swimming with the tide, not against it. Mieres is in great position right now. He has not taken his foot off the gas pedal when it comes to highlighting not just what Jay Jones said about former Speaker Todd Gilbert, but what he would do to Todd's wife and their children. That's where I think you're getting a lot of this really resonating. It's not just I wanted to kill Todd Gilbert and use 2 bullets to do it. It's I actually wanted Todd's wife to see his dead child lie in her arms. And that's despicable to an all new level that you really can't explain away. And you talk about people in the 5th and 9th district, that's just a non-starter. Jay Jones is going to have a very tough time to begin with in a lot of the state where he needed to do well, especially in Northern Virginia, and that's just going to take him down. I think Mieres wins that race by about 5 points. You move to the middle where you've got the lieutenant governor's race. Polling now has that as a dead even race. I believe this is your generic ballot race in Virginia. John Reed versus Ghazala Hashmi, and neither one of them have a ton of money. Ghazala is now up in D.C. television, giving her some, a helpful bump in the Northern Virginia area where she needs to run up the score. But she hasn't denounced Jay Jones either. Neither one of them have the ad money to really go toe-to-toe with each other. So this is where the top of the ticket will probably decide if Winsome Sears can beat Abigail Spanberger. John Reed, the lieutenant governor, comes over the top. I think that those races are probably linked together. Winsome, to her credit, has gotten the race within the margin of error. So, some have her down dead even, some have her down 2, some have her down a little bit more. But it's right there, and the question is, can her ground game put her over the top? Abigail Spanberger had a really bad debate the other night where she just stood silently.
Worst.
Oh, and I think she really, again, a missed opportunity there. Winsome just has to get the final funding. The RGA, the Republican Governor Association, came in with another $3 million. Winsome says that she's doing really well now with fundraising. So the question is, can you get enough in there? Now, one big difference between New York and Virginia, to my dismay, is that in Virginia, we have way too early voting. We had about 355,000 people that voted before the Jay Jones scandal broke. And the question is, where were those votes coming from? Still a little unclear where the early vote is ended up. But that's the biggest problem, because in Virginia, we don't vote by party registration.
Well, you raised an interesting point there that I hadn't considered, Mark and Dan. You guys can weigh in if you want, which is, I never considered an upward draft, that maybe these Republicans who are I'm getting off of the couch. I've never voted in an attorney general race before in my life, but that is my reason for going down to these polls and voting Republican today to make sure Jay Jones does not get this job. And while I'm here, let me just fill in the circle for Winsome Sears. Is that a thing? Have we seen upward drafts before?
Most political professionals laugh when the notion of reverse coattails are mentioned. But I think this may be a special case because the Jones thing has gotten so much coverage. And because there's so little money for advertising, the media coverage plays a bigger role, like in a presidential race. And I think that the failure of the Democrats to denounce Jones, to say that he shouldn't be the nominee has really had an impact on the news environment. And Republicans have done a very good job of mobilizing off of it. So I think if Spanberger wins by more than 6, I think she'll save the bottom of the ticket. But if it's closer
including
than that,
AG.
Yeah, if by 6 or more, I think probably the Democrats sweep. But if it's less than that, then I think Jones will lose. The dirty little secret is Jones has a horrible relationship with most of the Democratic Party in his state. They're all inexplicably standing by him. I still don't quite understand why, but there's not a lot of support for him personally. And I think that's having an impact on the organizers, the grassroots part of the establishment. So the Democrats are doing their best to hang on. They have Pete Buttigieg went in, Obama's going in. They're going to try to rally their voters. But as Sean said, the momentum is in one direction. And the Jones thing has really stayed resonant in the news coverage.
So Winsome Sears is going to be.
If I can, quick two
Winsome Sears is going to
points.
be on this program tomorrow. Just want to let everybody know that. So we'll get to talk to her about some of this ourselves. Go ahead, Sean, and then Dan.
The pollsters that I've talked to are basically have said to me, people who get information from the legacy media, particularly older voters, this has had a tremendous impact. But people at the lower end, where they're cut the cord, they use influencers or get their information from social media, have not been as moved, and that's where the ticket's going to struggle right now. Can they reach out beyond legacy media to get that message out using digital strategies, influencers, etc.? That's critical for these guys, for Sears, Winsome, for John Reed, and Jason Miyares. They've got to really use tactics that probably their consultants don't get paid as much by doing if they go in that direction. But the other thing that's really fascinating, and I know at least it's in the mind of some Virginians here, is back when Governor Ralph Northam was caught either in blackface or a KKK outfit, we can't remember which one, every one of those people, Senator Tim Kaine, Abigail Spanberger, then a member of Congress, all said he should resign as the current incumbent governor in Virginia. And yet when Jay Jones talks about assassinating a political opponent and wishing that his child was dead in his mother's arms, they say that's up to him to decide. So you'll call one guy out, not another. I think there's a couple through lines there that, I can explore.
Not for nothing, but it was children, multiple children belonging to the House Speaker who he wanted to see dead in their mother's arms. On that front, about Abigail Spanberger, she's just like, it's not my problem. It's like, it's the AG. Listen to her on Katie Couric's podcast. You guys may have seen this online yesterday on this whole topic. She doesn't like to be talking about this. SOT 2.
If I'm being very honest, we are 3 weeks away from an election in Virginia. I have worked tirelessly for 2 years running for this office. I announced in November 2023. The fact that I say this with all due respect because, I think it's a fair thing for you to ask about, the fact that I have to spend even a moment's time talking about somebody else's text messages from years ago rather than what I want to do as governor is something that I am deeply unhappy about. What the collective, would have done, had this information come to light much earlier, I will say this. I would be much, much happier as a candidate if I could just talk about all of the things that I am for.
Oh, she doesn't like to be asked about the scandals of her fellow Democrat whom she endorsed. Boo fucking who?
I think that will be in the textbooks of how not to answer a question like that. I mean, she seemed indignant. Like, how could you, this is a real nuisance instead of taking it as an opportunity to show leadership, to say and pass the common sense test, which is it's obviously, crazy and disqualifying. Look, the reason she's not going to say that is the black vote is very important to the Democratic Party. And there's a reason so many Democrats I
didn't even know Jay Jones was black, by the way. I didn't even know he was black. Even when I saw him, he did not look black to me. He has to go the Karine Jean-Pierre route and just tell everybody I'm black at the beginning of his debates and his interviews if he really wants that to get out there. Keep going, Dan.
Well, and so one of the issues for Democrats, and this is true in New Jersey and true in Virginia, there's worries about enthusiasm. I think all throughout this campaign, the thought of Democrats is because of DOJ, we're not going to have any problem turning out Northern Virginia. We're not going to have any problem turning out Democrats. Well, you've begun to see some evidence that Democrats are kind of not really motivated. Spanberger has not run a great campaign. Amazing, just this summer, people around her were talking about her running for president immediately after getting getting elected. I think that is now, briefly on hold. But I
briefly.
think
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they will send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver, too, with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.